I remember a time where Nintendo was known as the value brand, the more affordable option compared to the competition like Sony and Microsoft. But in these more modern times, it seems that they're just imitating everyone else now. They're not trying to set themselves apart anymore. And it is quite worrying. You've most likely read the title of this video, and you must feel the same way, or at least a similar way to how I feel with regards to the Switch 2. What was supposed to be a celebration of Nintendo finally hitting modern standards very quickly turned to outrage, and rightfully so. There is a lot to talk about. I wanted to wait a bit to see if any more information comes out because, people love to spread misinformation on the internet. Also, if I do get anything wrong or any new information comes out as of the making of this video or after it's uploaded, do let me know, because it is quite difficult to try and find information at times, but yeah. Anyways, let's get into the video. So, the Switch 2. Couldn't have had more of a controversial launch, couldn't it? Right, let's get this out of the way. The prices. One of the most talked about parts when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2. And once I start listing prices, which I'll be using UK prices because British, you'll start to see as to why they got an outrage. First off, the Switch 2 itself. You're going to want to play that new Mario Kart, right? Well, to start with, the console itself, base version, not even including Mario Kart World, will cost about £400. Yeah, this is just the start of things. And obviously, you're gonna want a controller to play, right? The Pro Controller is the best way to play. Why else would people say that the Switch 1 Pro Controller is one of the best controllers in gaming history? Well, that will be £75 if you want that experience, plus the ability to put your headset into a headphone jack. Why this wasn't a thing with the Switch 1 controller, I do not know. Speaking of Mario Kart, you want to do Mario Kart? You want to do your part in keeping physical games alive like me? That will be £75. And a loss of dignity with making said purchase. Seriously, the whole variable pricing thing is so dumb. It's like, well, I suppose if you want to go with your dumb logic, then Pokemon games shouldn't cost any more than £20 with how their quality has gone down the drain. And yes, I'm very aware I'm part of the problem. Why else did I get Pokemon Violet besides I liked the sound of the concept? And some of the Pokemon designs were cool, but I know, I can acknowledge, not the best decision, as it was really low quality. I mean, just watch the Let's Play or glitch compilations and you'll get what I mean. Saw that quirky camera in the Switch 2 Direct that we all laughed at because what the heck, it looks like something you'd use for an old 2000s Zoom meeting. £50. Yeah, I don't really see anyone getting this besides making a haha funny video on how bad it is and nothing more. The 2010's called and they want their Xbox 360 Kinect back because that's what the camera is reminding me of. Need more storage? Because let's be honest, we're going to get to that stage where we're going to need more storage because of third-party games coming to the system, which there is a lot of if you haven't seen the Switch 2 Direct. So, you're going to need a micro SD express card this time around, as yep, Nintendo loves their money. And at £50 for this new storage card, yeah, Nintendo's never gonna beat the I love money allegations. Not that they're trying to. And remember Joy-Con drift, when that was a thing during the Switch 1 era, and Nintendo tried to gaslight us into thinking it didn't exist, when it really obviously did? Well, we better have our fingers crossed that these new Joy-Con aren't that prone to drifting, because it's £75 for a replacement pair. The jokes write themselves, but yeah, it's genuinely sad to see Nintendo start to copy their competition, as Nintendo has always been known as the value brand, as I mentioned at the start of this video. All these children who love Mario or insert Nintendo IP here, now they're gonna have to really pray that not only is their financial situation decent to good, but the fact that their birthday and Christmas lists, if it's even going to be possible for them to get it on those days, which with how greedy corporations are becoming, I highly doubt it, they might not even have a chance to get the system even a couple years down the line because of how expensive the console is, and the fact that Nintendo never puts their games on sale, which I've never understood besides the point of money, but I digress. Things are only due to get worse from here, let me tell you. Remember when you would buy a physical game knowing that you own it, so that years down the line, whether you want to show a friend in the future or you want to show your kids a certain game that you grew up with, well, that's not guaranteed either, as Nintendo has introduced the game key card. I have made a short video already talking about this business practice, but we do have a bit more information now since that video came out. So, I still stand by my point when I say that the game key card is a gaslighting trick for people like me who want to support physical media. At first we thought the game wasn't even on the cartridge at all, but then we learned it's only a third of the game. Still not acceptable. We want to own our games, Nintendo. I will forever hate that Ubisoft quote of them saying, "You should get more comfortable not owning games." Well, Ubisoft, how about you get more comfortable being more consumer friendly and not dragging the Rain Man IP down with you just because you love your money? But that's a whole thing for another time. But yes, Nintendo are being quite dangerous with this practice, especially as most third-party titles are gonna be the game keycard version on Switch 2. Sonic and Shadow Generations? Not even the full game, you don't own it. That's a shame, bucko. You could have bought a different version, but nope, you went with the Switch 2 version. Insert laughter here. It's just really scummy, like, oh my god. I know that there's the whole phrase of corporations and companies are not your friend, and yeah, they never were. But I have never seen a more obvious showing of this than with the Switch 2. Damn, Nintendo, you are really starting to push your luck. That much I will say, and I have been with you for years. So you know it's bad when someone like me is talking about how scummy you are, and how with physical media you are actively trying to kill it. Not just with game keycards, but the fact that you're making digital versions of games cheaper than physical versions. Yep, we're doomed. Physical media is gonna die if the game keycard does well, which I really hope not. Because then that would mean we would live in a world where Splatoon 4 comes out and I don't even own the game. It's the game keycard version, and that would make me want to never mention Nintendo again, and it would be the straw that not just breaks the camel's back, but impales it, making it so that I'd never want to interact with Nintendo media ever again. But like I mentioned earlier, so far it's only for most third-party titles. But still, we do not want this to sell well, because then Nintendo will possibly put it on their first-party titles as well. But with all that said, I thought I would make a little hashtag, spread the word about this really terrible business practice. And I thought I would name it No Keys Please. If we want to keep physical media alive, if we want to really make a change or try something with the limited audience that I have, I would rather try to make a change than sit there, do nothing, twiddle my thumbs, and watch the possibility of Splatoon 4 not being fully physical become more and more likely to happen. So yeah, don't let this business practice win. Study those box differences, people, because we need to, for the betterment of physical media. So, last thing to mention for this video before I continue with my day or night, depending on when this comes out. Switch Online. Now this is the thing I'm also incredibly nervous for. If you've been around in the Switch 1 era at any point, you know that Switch Online is infamous for being terrible no matter what kind of Wi-Fi you have. Too many times have I played Splatoon 3 and either someone rage quit or disconnected right as the match begun, therefore making it not count, having to sit there a couple seconds awkwardly, waiting for the "a communication error has occurred" screen to go away, so you can queue up for another match. I am so surprised that, as of 2025, they still haven't fixed Switch Online. £20 a year, people, to play Nintendo games online that barely even function if someone in the group has terrible Wi-Fi, because that's all it takes to ruin the game session for everyone. Nintendo uses outdated servers where the host is randomly chosen. All these switches are connected to each other in a way, so if one person ends up disconnected, intentionally or not, no one can play the game. That's why, as much as this is going to sound like a cope, and believe me, I too believe this will sound like a cope because this is Nintendo we're talking about here, that they'll update their servers to modern standards, like games like Fortnite and Minecraft. But yeah, something tells me they're not going to do that. We're still going to have to pay £20 a year, and we'll have to pray that we are queued with people who don't have terrible Wi-Fi. But yeah, Switch Online is it has been a scam. It feels like a scam ever since it was introduced in 2018. I knew dark times were ahead when I saw that we had to pay to play Nintendo games online. I suppose some of you could make the argument it was going to happen eventually, but come on, £20 a year and your servers barely even work? Come on, dude. Surely all that money you got from Switch 1 sales you could have put towards making a better server, but I don't know. We'll have to see when the Switch 2 launches if we get any cases of better online, which, once again, I do not expect to hear, because Nintendo is weird in that way. I mean, combined with game chat, it's probably going to be a laughing stock with Nintendo Switch Online. But yeah, I miss the days of being able to play online games on Nintendo consoles completely for free. Man, no one would believe me if I say that nowadays. As hopeless as this situation does sound, everything I've said that everyone has already said on YouTube by now, with how Nintendo are really hitting the final boss when it comes to being anti-consumer. But I want to tell you a quick little story of a situation that happened before. Remember the Nintendo 3DS? When that originally came out, it was also very expensive. But in that situation, people must have boycotted or really made their voices heard, because Nintendo then dropped the price by quite a decent margin, so the 3DS had a better outcome. Now, will this happen with the Switch 2? No, I don't think it will, because this is a far more anti-consumer Nintendo than in 2011. And they were already pretty anti-consumer, with doing things like taking down fan games, yada yada, you've heard the stories before. But yeah, as much as this also sounds like a cope, obviously, hoping people will put their voices out there and make it very clear that what Nintendo's doing is not okay, I just feel like they just won't care. Like, they just won't care. They're too big on their rocker, they're far up on their high horse, and have earplugs in their ears, whilst simultaneously chanting la la la, we can't hear you. But I do feel like we could give this a good try. Trying to teach Nintendo that this is not okay. There are plenty of good videos talking about the Switch 2 and its various topics that I do recommend. Give it a little search, see who you can find. One video that I really recommend is by the YouTuber Nathaniel Bandy, with his video titled Will the Switch 2 Flop? I recommend it. He makes a lot of good points, and does also say about some of the points that I made in this video. But I digress. Hopefully we can all pray, we can all make our voices heard, spread the no keys please hashtag that I've made, and hopefully we can make a difference. If there's one thing you all need to remember, companies are only as powerful as their consumers. So if you don't want to get the console, that's completely fine. In fact, that's completely justified after what I've mentioned throughout this entire video, and I have no doubt you would have heard if you're part of the Nintendo and gaming community at large. Yeah, that's all I have to say really. Spread no keys please. Make sure you enlighten your fellow gamers of these terrible practices, and hopefully Nintendo will learn. The odds aren't looking very high of that happening, but they could. Thank you for watching, and let me know how you feel about Nintendo, because I grew up with them. I own a pink 3DS original model, a black Wii U that came with Nintendo Land, a white Wii, which of course we all know came with Wii Sports, and of course my Switch. But yeah, screw Nintendo, man.